Did you know? Michigan didn't just become Motor City by chance. At one point, there were so many car companies in the state that you could find an automaker starting with almost every letter of the alphabet. You'll find the world's longest golf course, the Nullarbor Links, stretching 1,365 kilometers across the Nullarbor Plain. It's an 18-hole course where each hole is located in a different participating town or roadhouse. The Spanish horror film Reiki was shot entirely with just one handheld camera, giving it a super intense found footage vibe. The entire movie unfolds in real time, trapping viewers inside a terrifying apartment building for 78 minutes. Michigan's Upper Peninsula is so vast and remote that getting lost without a map or compass can lead to serious trouble, like in the case of lost hiker David Robert Koch in 2013. The dense forests easily disorient visitors. Cuba actually has an even older signature cocktail than the mojito it's called, the Canchanchara. Mombi fighters invented it during the 10 Years' War, mixing aguardiente honey and lime for a quick energy boost. Nyan Cat, the adorable pixelated feline with a Pop-Tart body, sold as an NFT for a whopping 300 Ethereum in 2021. That's a massive amount, highlighting how much digital art is worth on the internet these days. Antarctica's Mount Erebus isn't just an active volcano, it's home to ice caves that release gas, creating some of the driest air on the planet. Its summit has virtually no precipitation, making it an incredibly harsh environment. The Pontiac car brand was actually named directly after a famous historical figure. It honors Chief Pontiac, a prominent 18th century Ottawa leader with the first vehicle hitting streets in 1926. You can actually desalinate seawater using a solar still, but it only yields about 1.5 liters a day in direct sunlight. This method is surprisingly effective for emergency hydration, though quite slow. Shelley Duvall faced immense stress filming, The Shining reportedly enduring 127 takes for the iconic baseball bat scene. Stanley Kubrick's intense methods left her emotionally exhausted and often physically ill during production. Australia once had more drive-in movie theaters per capita than any other country. Though fewer remain today, they were incredibly popular in the mid-20th century, offering a unique entertainment experience. Tasmanian devils have one of the loudest and most unsettling screeches in the animal kingdom. Their eerie vocalizations include growls, sniffs, sneezes, and even a terrifying screech used to warn off rivals. The Exorcist set was reportedly cursed, plagued by strange incidents and even deaths during filming, like an unexplained fire that destroyed most of the McNeil house. They brought in a real priest to bless the set for safety. Cuba boasts a world-class national ballet nurtured by state support for the arts since the revolution. Founded by Alicia Alonso, it's produced some of the finest dancers globally despite the country's economic challenges. The famous rule of 3 states you can last about 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter in extreme conditions, and 3 days without water. Knowing these limits can prioritize your actions in a crisis. The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre was made on such a shoestring budget, the cast and crew even ate rotten food on set to save money. Actress Marilyn Burns suffered real cuts and bruises, making her screams incredibly authentic. The very first email message was sent way back in 1971 by programmer Ray Tomlinson. He actually sent it to himself just to test out his new network messaging program, and it was probably just a bunch of random letters. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge isn't just one long mountain chain, it's a massive underwater range spanning over 600,000 kilometers. Earth's longest mountain system is completely submerged right down the middle of the Atlantic, quietly extending across the globe. Australia is obsessed with big things, featuring over 150 oversized roadside attractions. You can find everything from the Big Banana in Coffs Harbour to the Big Prawn and Ballina, drawing tourists for photo ops. The gruesome Hostel movies weren't just about disturbing stories. Parts of the filming took place in actual abandoned psychiatric hospitals in the Czech Republic. Director Eli Roth felt these eerie locations added to the unsettling atmosphere on screen. The smallest bird on Earth, the bee hummingbird, actually calls Cuba its only home. This tiny avian marvel weighs less than a penny, measuring just 2.24 inches long and fitting on your fingertip. Despite being a smaller nation, Cuba has sent tens of thousands of medical professionals to over 100 countries worldwide during crises and for long-term support. Their international medical brigades are a huge part of their foreign policy. The world's first academic computer network, Murat Network, connecting 3 Michigan universities, was a huge step in networking back in 1969. It eventually evolved to become Michigan's first statewide internet access provider. You know how domain names like .com and .org are super common? The very first registered .com domain was symbolics.com way back on March 15, 1985, for a computer company that's now part of the history books. The Himalayas are still pushing upwards by about 1 centimeter every year, thanks to the Indian and Eurasian tectonic plates crashing together. That's actually faster than your fingernails grow constantly remaking the highest peaks on Earth. Studies show singing can significantly boost morale and even improve endurance during extreme survival situations. The rhythmic breathing and focus can combat panic, like during Ernest Shackleton's 1914 expedition. Ana Betancourt was a pioneering Cuban feminist and advocate for women's rights way back in the 19th century. During the 10 Years' War, she called for equality and property rights for women in 1869, long before many other nations. The first turn signal wasn't electric or automated at all. Actress Florence Lawrence invented a mechanical signaling arm you'd crank out of the window in 1914, just before the electric version. About 90% of the internet's traffic travels through underwater fiber optic cables, not satellites, which is wild. These vital cables, some as thick as garden hoses, crisscross ocean floors connecting continents around the globe. Many Australians love to prank tourists with tales of the fearsome drop bear, a carnivorous tree-dwelling marsupial that supposedly drops from above. It's a running joke similar to Bigfoot, but totally fictional. Tony Todd, the actor behind Candyman, let real bees buzz in his mouth for several scenes, enduring 23 actual stings during filming. He smartly negotiated a cool $1,000 bonus for each sting he received on set. Australia lays claim to the largest sector of Antarctica, known as the Australian Antarctic Territory. This massive icy expanse covers roughly 42% of the continent, making it larger than Australia itself. Mount Roraima, a tabletop mountain bordering Venezuela, Brazil, and Guyana, is home to unique species like a black frog found nowhere else. Its sheer cliffs and isolated plateau have preserved an ancient miniature ecosystem for millions of years. A common condom can hold about a gallon of water and is surprisingly useful for collecting and transporting safe drinking water in a pinch. Just be sure it's unlubricated and clean. The Morgan Motor Company in England still builds cars using wooden frames today. Their Classic Plus models feature an ash wood frame that's been integral to their design since the 1930s. Santeria, a syncretic religion blending West African Yoruba traditions with Catholicism, is widely practiced across Cuba. Its vibrant rituals involve drumming, dancing, and offerings playing a significant role in many Cubans' daily lives. The very first video ever uploaded to YouTube wasn't a cat meme or a music video. It was a co-founder, Jawed Karim, talking about elephants at the San Diego Zoo on April 23, 2005, which is wild. For decades, Cuba operated with a wild dual currency system, having both the CUC and CUP until it was finally unified in 2021. This meant tourists used one currency, while locals primarily used another, creating some interesting economic quirks. The terrifying Michael Myers mask from the original Halloween film is actually a slightly altered painted white William Shatner Captain Kirk mask. The production team bought it for less than $2 at a local store. Long ago, Australia was home to incredible megafauna, including giant kangaroos, massive wombats the size of rhinos, and even a carnivorous marsupial lion. These impressive creatures roamed the continent tens of thousands of years ago. The Internet Archive stores billions of web pages, creating a massive digital library of the entire internet. They also have an impressive collection of over 2,000 retro arcade games you can play right in your browser. Cats have a riding reflex that lets them orient themselves mid-air, allowing them to often survive falls from up to 7 stories high. They'll land on their feet, distributing the impact. Early text-based multiplayer online games known as MUDs or multi-user dungeons were a big deal in the pre-web internet days. They offered virtual worlds for players to explore and roleplay, often in fantasy or medieval settings. Dandelions are completely edible from their roots to their flowers and are packed with vitamins A and K. Early spring dandelions taste less bitter and are a valuable wild food source. Superglue, believe it or not, was developed for battlefield wounds during the Vietnam War before it became a household adhesive. It can effectively close small cuts in emergency situations. If you enjoyed these, subscribe for daily facts and catch the shorts too.